Hello, and it's good. Let me see if my mic's working good. Yes, yes. I hear y'all loud and clear. Welcome. Welcome to another session of Chaos Rain channel. I am known as always Chaos Rain here. And tonight, 1 second. And tonight, as what is entitled, the subject, Countdown to Human Destruction. It's a very unusual topic. We all know destruction, how humans portray themselves on an everyday basis, but this little conversation is going to be a little bit different from how I view destruction and what I see things overall. For those who are listening to this podcast for the first time, welcome, thank you. And stream on YouTube as well. If you're not subscribed to Chaos Rain, what you waiting for? Hit that notification bell. Always, when you hit the notification bell, you hit the top bell, the top of the bell. There, you get all uploads and when live stream being hosted here on Chaos Rain channel. Also, you can follow me on Twitter at Chaos Rain 7. And you can now hear all of season 1 from 2019 on your local podcast, from the Anchor, the Spotify, the Breaker, the Google Play Store, this thing they call podcast Apple nonsense. You find it all there on audio, on podcasting, on your local airway near you. So check me out. You'll like it. Before I go into the deeper subject, let us take a look at what. 1 second, people. Let me do this. I think we have a issue. Not sure why, but I'm scanning the message, but can be resolved. 1 second. Let me do this instead. Oh, I forgot. I should have it. Matter of fact, I'll share it. See if it will show. If not, it's fine. I'll read it to y'all. Let me just wait for it to load up. Oh, and as y'all listen in, if you're listening through the chat room, don't be hesitant. Hit that notification bell. All right, I'm gonna screen share it. Oh, okay, good. As y'all will see in a moment, let me do this. Let me see if I'm showing. Am I editing? Yes, it is. Good. So turn that on. Okay. As you notice, this has been circulating for the past month, early this month. Tell executive of preventing online censorship by the authorities vested as president of the Constitution and law of the United States of America. It is hereby ordered as follows. Section 1 policy. Free speech is bedrock of American democracy. We're really founded by a republic, not a democracy. Democracy did not come to existence until the late 1800s. Keep that in mind. Our founding fathers protect this scar right with the First Amendment to the Constitution. The freedom of expression, debate, ideals, foundation for all our rights as a free people. And I question freedom nowadays. In a country that has long cherished the freedom of expression, we cannot allow a limited number of online platforms to handpick the speech that Americans may access and convey on the internet. This practice is fundamentally un-American and anti-democratic. When large, powerful social media companies censor options with which they disagree, they exercise a dangerous power. They cease function as passive bulletin boards and ought to be viewed and threatened or treated as creators. The growth of online platforms is recent year raised important question about applying the ideals of the First Amendment to modern communications technologies, etc. Today, many Americans follow the news, stay in touch with friends and families, and share their views on current events through social media and other online platforms. As a result, these platforms function in many ways as a 21st century equivalent of the public square. Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Especially if you look at the most popular ones right here, Facebook, and we can now say IG now, which they both own. Facebook owns both these, and also Twitter. Wield immense, if not unprecedented power to shape the interpretations of public events, to censor, delete, or disappear information, and to control what people see or do not see. As president, I have made clear my comments to free and open debates on the internet. Such debates is just as important as online as it our universities, our towns, hall, and our homes. It is essential to sustain our democracy. Online platforms are engaging in selective censorship that is harming our national discourse. Tens of thousands of Americans have reported, among other troubling behaviors, online platforms. Flagging contents are inappropriate, even though it does not violate any state term or service. Making announcements and unexplaining changes to company policy that have to affect and disfavoring certain viewpoints, and deleting content and entire accounts with no warrant, no rational, and no recourse. Twitter now selectively decides to place a warning label on certain tweets in a manner that clearly reflects political bias. As has been reported, Twitter seems never to have placed such a label on another politician tweet. As recently as last week, Representative Adam Schiff was continuing to mislead his followers by pending the long disapproved Russian coalition hoax, and Twitter did not flag those tweets. Unsurprisingly, its officer in charge of so-called site integrity has flaunted his political bias in his own tweets. At the same time, online platforms are invoking inconsistent, irrational, and groundless justification to censor or otherwise restrict American speech here at home. Several online platforms are profiting from promoting and aggression and disinformation spread by foreign governors like China. One United States company, for example, creates a search engine for Chinese Communist Party that would have blacklisted search for human rights, hid data unfavorable to the Chinese Communist Party, and tracked users determined appropriate for surveillance. It has also established research partnership in China that provides direct benefits to Chinese military. Other companies have accepted advertising paid by the Chinese government that spread false information about China's mass imprisonment of religious minorities, thereby enabling these abuse of human rights. They have also amplified China's propaganda abroad, including by allowing Chinese government officials to use their platforms to spread misinformation regarding the origin of the COVID-19 pandemic and to undermine the pre-democratic protests in Hong Kong. And we're going to stop right here for a second. It's not that the Chinese didn't want to hide it, but there's a more greater agenda of its creation at itself, if y'all know. And matter of fact, I'm gonna let y'all do y'all research on that because this ain't what they call the creation of this virus was developed and created years in advance. It did not do the surface in November of 2019. This thing was made long time ago. They have shows in China right now that talks about it years ago. So this is not something new. As a nation, we must foster and protect diverse viewpoints in today's digital communication environment, where all Americans can and should have a voice. We must seek transparency and accountability from online platforms and encourage standards and tools to protect and preserve the integrity and openness of American discourse and freedom of expression. Section 2, protection against online censorship. A, it is a policy of the United States to foster a clear ground rule promoting free and open debates on the internet. Prominent amongst a ground rule governors that debate is the immunity from liability created by Section 230C of the Communication Decency Act, Section 230C. 47 U.S.C. 230C. It is a policy of the United States that the scope of the immunity should be clarified and the immunity should not extend beyond the text and propose to provide protection for those who prompt or purport to provide users a forum for free and open speech, but in reality use their power over a vital means of communication to engage in deceptive and pretextual actions, stifling free and open debates by censoring certain viewpoints. Section 230C was designed to address early court decisions holding that if any online platform restriction access to some content posted by others, it would therefore be a publisher of all the content posted on its site for purpose of tort such as defamation, and the title of Section 230C makes clear the provisions providing limited liability protection to a provider of the interactive computer service, such as online platforms that engage in Good Samaritan blocking of harmful content. In particular, the Congress sought to provide protection for online platforms that attempt to protect minors from harmful content and intend to ensure that such providers would not be discouraged from taking down harmful material. The provision was also intended to further the expression vision of the Congress that internet is a form of a true diversity of political discourse. 47 U.S.C. 230A and 3. The limited protection provided by the statutes should be constructed with these purposes in mind. In particular, subparagraph C2 expressly addresses protection from civil liabilities specific that interaction computer service provider may not be more liable on accounts of its decision in good faith to restrict access to content that is considered to be obscene, lewd, lavish, filthy, excessively violent, harassing, or otherwise objectionable. It is the policy of the United States to ensure that the maximum extent permissible under the law, this provision is not distorted to provide liability protection for online platforms that fare from action in good faith. To remove objectionable content, instead engage in decisive or pretextual actions, often contrary to their state term of service, to stifle viewpoints with which they disagree. Section 230 was not intended to allow a harmful of companies to grow into titans controlling vital avenues for our national discourse under the genius of promoting open forums for debate, and then to provide those behemoth blanket immunities when they are used of their power to censor content and silence viewpoints that they dislike. When an interacting computer service provider removes or restrict access to content and its actions do not meet the criteria of subparagraph C2A, it is engaged in editorial conduct. It is policy of the United States that such providers should properly lose the limit liabilities and shield subparagraph C2A and exposed to the liability like any traditional editor and publisher that is not an online provider. The advice and the policy described in subsection A in the section of all executive departments and agencies should ensure that their applications of section 230C properly reflects the narrow proposed of the section of taking all appropriate actions in this regard. In addition, with 60 days of the data of the order, the Secretary of Commerce, Secretary in consultation with the Attorney General and the acting through the National Telecommunication and Information Administration, NTIA, shall file a petition for rulemaking with the Federal Communication FCC requesting that the FCC expeditiously propose regulations to clarify. I think it's one, the interaction between subparagraph C1 and C2 of section 230, in particular, to clarify and determine the circumstance under which provides of the interaction computer service that restrict access to content in a manner for a specific protection by subparagraph C2A may also not be able to claim protection under subparagraphs C1, which merely states that a provider shall not be threatened as a publisher or speaker for making third-party content available and does not address the provider responsibility for its own editorial decision. Number two, the conditions under which an action restricting access to a availability of material is not taken in good faith. Within the means of subparagraph C2A of section 230, particularly whether actions can be taken in good faith if they are A, deceptive, pretextual, or inconsistent with a provider terms of service, or B, taken after failing to provide adequate notice, reason, explanation, or a meaningful opportunity to be heard, and three, any other proposed regulations that NTIA conclude may be appropriate to advance the policy described in subsection A of this section. Section 3, protection federal taxpayer dollars from financing online platforms that restrict free speech. A, the head of each executive department and agency shall review its agency federal spending on advertising and marketing paid to online platforms. Such review shall include the amount of money spent on online platforms that receive federal dollars and stationary authorities available to restrict their receipts of advertising dollars. B, within 30 days of the data of this order, the head of each agency shall report its findings to direct of the official management and budget. C, Department of Justice shall review the viewpoints-based speech restriction imposed by each online platform, identified in the report described in subsection and of this section and assets whether any online platform are problematic. Vehicles of government speech due to viewpoints, discrimination, deception, and to consumers or other bad practice. Section 4. Federal Review of Unfair and Deceptive Acts or Practice. A. It is a policy of the United States that large online platforms such as Twitter and Facebook as the critical means of promoting the free flow of speech and ideas today should not restrict tech speech, and Supreme Court has noted that such media sites as the modern public square can provide perhaps the most powerful mechanism available to a private citizen to make his or her voice be heard. Hickman versus North Carolina, 137 St. Seats 1737 at 2017. The communication, though, these channels have become important for meaningful participation in American democracy, including petitioning elected leaders. These sites are providing an important forum to the public of others engaged in free expression and debate. Shift per yard shipping center versus Robin, 447 US 7485 through 89, 1989. And I fit the chapter page into this case. B. In May of 2019, the White House launched a tech bias report tool to allow Americans to report instances of online censorship. In just a week, the White House received over 16,000 complaints of online platforms censoring or otherwise taking action against users based on their political views. The White House will submit such complaints received to a Department of Justice and the Federal Trade Commission's FTC. C. The FTC shall consider taking action and appropriate consent with availability or applicable laws to prohibit unfair and deceptive acts or practice in an effective commerce, pursuing the Section 45 of the Title 15. United States Code, such unfair or deceptive acts or practice may include practice by entities covered by Section 230, the restriction speech in ways that do not align with these entities' public representation about these practices. Letter D. For large online platforms that are vast areas for public debate, including the social media platform Twitter and FTC, shall also consent with the legal authorities consider whether complaints, allegations, violations, or law that implicates the policy set forth in Section 4 and this order. The FTC shall consider deploying a report describing such complaints and make the report publicized available consent with the applicable laws. Number 5, or Section 5, state review of unfair, deceptive acts or practice and anti-discrimination laws. A. The Attorney General shall establish as working groups regarding the potential enforcement of state statutes that prohibit online platforms from engaging in unfair or deceptive acts or practice. The working group shall also develop model legislations for consideration by a legislator in states with or where existing statutes do not protect Americans from such unfair and deceptive acts and practice. The working groups shall invent state attorney general for discussion and consultation as appropriate and consent with applicable laws. B. Complaints described in Section 4B of this order will be shared with the working group consent with applicable laws. The working group shall also collect publicize available information regarding the following. 1. Increase scrutiny of users based on their order or other users they choose to follow or their interaction with other users. 2. The algorithm to suppress content or user bias on indication of political allegiance or views. 3. Differentiate policies allow for otherwise imprisonable behaviors when committed by accounts associated with the Chinese Communist Party or order of anti-democratic associations or government. 4. Reliance on third-party entities, including contract, media organizations, and individuals with indulgency or bias to review content. And number 5, acts that limit the ability to users to particular viewpoints to earn money on the platform compared with other users similar in situation. Section 6, legislation. The Attorney General shall develop a proposal for federal legislation that would be useful to promote the policy objective of this order. Section 7, definition for proposed of this order. The term online platforms mean any website or application that allow users to create and share content or engage in social network or any general search engine. Section 8, the general provision. A, nothing in the order shall be constructed to impair or otherwise affect. 1. The authority granted by law to an executive department or agency or the head thereof, or 2. The function of director of the Office of Management and Budget related to administrative or legislative proposal. B. This order shall be implemented consent with applicable laws and subject to the availability of appropriation. And C. This order is not intended to and does not create any right or benefit, substantive or procedural, enforceable at law, or the equity by any party against the United States, its department, agencies, or entities, its or officers, employees, or agents, or any other person. And that's the end of this article. Very interesting. Very interesting. Very interesting. Let me do this. 1 second, people. That was an interesting article. If I do say so myself. It sounds good. The only thing what I view reading all that, all these sections, these laws, these statutory laws that's put in, that was written in the books, for any content creator that will take, if this is really serious, is who's going to enforce these laws. Because at the end of the day, to have it on paper is saying something, but who's going to hold accountable and who's going to enforce it is another thing. I think with online media, YouTube, and all these outlets, there is a great deal of censorship. And the deal is so heavy that, now you find people that does content, they take their, actually take down live streams down because their risk of it getting flagged for whatever reason. Not really a proponent for people flagging other people's material. But my thing is this: at the end of the day, if you're going to go out your way to be flagging people's material, it better be for a real reason, a real good reason. And like I said, this is America, and there is somewhat of a freedom of voice and speech, depending on how long they're going to keep this free speech. Which, in my view, is an illusion. There's no such thing as free speech, because you can't just say anything you don't think anyone's going to do somebody or do something to you. On the average, because with freedom there is a cost, and usually that cost could be something that you will lose your blood in this cause. So, if you look at the founding fathers and some of the black men that participated in this country that fought for the liberation of the crown, allegedly back in the 1700s, they paid a price for that freedom. A lot of bloodshed was spilled. That shows how much they wanted. So when people talk about freedom, there is a consequence at the end of the day. But if you don't understand what greater consequence you're going to face if you waste out for that work, then you're fooling yourself. And I would say don't even bother wasting time. You might as well nest like everybody else. But, you can read the article for yourself. I'll put it in the description during this podcast. Now, destruction. To the main topic. Why we, or what is the purpose of human destruction, or the countdown of human destruction? I have to conclude that with people, and with, let's say, people that want to have families, grow families, you are in your right state of mind and freedom to do so, to have your own family. Hell, you might even go outside your community to find it. Who knows? But you must know that when anything you do, a system is put in place to show the levels how far you're willing to go. As you notice with the black race, one thing, if they have not understand, and we're not going to talk about everybody because we want to talk about black people for the sake of this little conversation, is that this is the century where you are supposed to be how they want you to be from their own lens and control. I remember with Amos Wilson in his works, and many other psychologists, even say Francis Creswell might have said this before, and how important it is that how they run psychology and use it to its full extent to control the minds of people. And with that control, now they could dictate how far you will progress in society, in life. If you look at it, when it regards to black male and female relationships, it's in the tank. It's in the gutter right now. Reason, that's by design, but more than it's designed to see you separate from your male or female counterpart. The real end game is to keep you separate enough where you don't interact and procreate and create more what we call black life. If you look at every statistical number, there are still 80 US or African American people still here in this country, in a few millions or greater millions. But as you know, through time progress, from what we could understand, what is the average number of black people that's been in this country for centuries is either greater or lesser. And when I mean greater or lesser, because there are outlets that does the number crunching about where people stand here in the West we call America. And we question the numbers because, like I said, there's not a full organization council that black people, African people really control here in America that they can sit there counteract what is being said about other groups of people that are non-black. And knowing the numbers, you only get a full understanding of what is reality. Now, I came across black demographics, and I did go over this on a previous stream. I won't go through it here. Y'all could tap a look at yourself. And the highest percentage where black people really reside the most, and there's probably 4 states, but roughly I would say 4 or 5 states, but one particularly where black people really are in the mass percentile range is in Washington, D.C. Now, we all know D.C. is the chocolate capital city where all black people of walks of life live, but it's also the source of the highest form of wealth of black people. And most of the wealth is committed by serving in the military or working the government job, i.e., work for the government. Either or, that's where the highest percentage of black people reside in DC, Washington, DC, or a District of Columbia. All other subparts outside of the District of Columbia, Mississippi will be the second, which is up to range 39%. And we all know Mississippi, like any southern state, is very heavily populated of black people as well. And other areas like Georgia and stuff, black people, right? But and also North Carolina and South Carolina. But the point is this, that because of the numbers of black people here in this country, the only thing you could think and actually conclude is, are we even growing or are we declining? To be honest with you, it's hard for me to answer that question. Because like I said, we don't have an actual set group or organization, just like other outlets that does number crunching about what is the average number of people that's in this country. They say there's like 330 million total in America. And out of 300, how many is actually black people? Rather, ones as descendants of slaves or ones from other parts of the country that is, quote unquote, black, African descent, or, label themselves as black. We don't really know. And usually mixing could fluctuate the numbers of who is who. But it's going to come to the point they're going to have their own census where they're going to create a separation between people that are coming from two different racial stocks and be considered biracial or whatever, to separate more of the races. But the point is this, that with the data, you always got to think closely that are we growing or we declining more as people? As you can know, the birth rate for black people across the board in America is actually on a decline. Usually, the average, you see most women with their husbands or boyfriend, whatever, usually will pop out 4 kids or roughly 4.1 or 4.5 kids. Now it's down to 2, or roughly maybe 1 now, depending on the family or situation. But nonetheless, you're having very less children than you have in previous decades for the last 50 or more years. I mean, there are some women that do have more than 4 kids or 3 kids. But like I said, they are mostly roughly a minority in the black community on the average. I know some brothers will say they know a few that is, and have more than 1 child. I'm not doubting them on if they're true or not. But overall, black people as a whole are actually having very less babies. And that's not really by coincidence, that's by design. I hear most times that they complain about the black women killing too much of the babies for the sake of the numbers, to keep adding on the numbers of this country. And my thing is this, to be honest, is that, when you find a woman have to sit there and take a life of their future child, it tells you how much a strain systematically they have in this environment on average. Now, a lot of people say you should not open your legs and procreate with certain men. And I agree. Well, like I said, when the environment is not imposed enough by men, I'm just going to be dead honest. What do you expect a weaker vessel to do, to really do? And mind you, her influence on how she sees a mate is also conditioned, just like how we see and find a mate as a man. There's no separation. And to be honest, like anything, the environment has to be still imposed at the end of the day, whether the women are going to take a competent man or not. And the fun thing with this environment that we do not control as a collective or as race people is making a lot of black people more crazy than it seems. Make them go and act more out of character, insane, because the environment is so toxic that not only you have time to think, but you up for doing things that's very much out of character as race people. As you know, with certain posts with, let's say, black men abusing black women, it's bad. I know, I see it. Terrible. But one thing, how I view it, I look at the source. Because to sit there abuse someone that is less than weaker, it takes a lot. It takes it very much a lot. My thing is this, that I always look at social engineering programming to be a heavy influence to a lot of young men and young women, how they view themselves, how they act towards each other, and they perpetuate a behavior that's already instilled in them through generations. And the only thing what society does is they keep reinforcing these type of stereotypes and behaviors. I find it very alarming that you think now, we as a people, that we start to get it now after almost thousands, for almost a couple decades. But it shows how well we just don't really look in and care to really correct the little small problems we suffer as a collective of people. Even with the black on black violence, which I have no really problem with on the average, but it has to be used properly amongst a group of people. I think when we engage in violence with each other, is a lack of self-respect and a self-hatred towards self as a whole, and entirely to go out the way to put more punishment and harm to someone that is a reflection of you. And not only that, but hey, when you don't understand the psychological aspect of how to really condition you through constant experiments, constant manipulation of the environment, you will create what we call the Negro today. And remember, Negro is a Christian entity at the end of the day. You know, some people glorify using the word nigga and all that stuff. Well, it's a creation nonetheless by another group of men, competing group of men. And one thing that people know, with this destruction, human beings, you either have a puppet master right there pulling strings to enable people to self-destruct. As you know, within the black community, we are in a self-destructing mode where we not only put harm on ourselves, but we put heavily harm towards each other. And then we go as far as that the insanity of our minds, we go as far as to even look to view that we need to be validated by other groups of people. That's why you notice why you hear a lot of dudes talking about want feminine women and all that. I understand. Just like the women want some men to provide something. I hear you. I get you, sis. But the problem is, if your mind is compromised, so is he. How are the two going to come together and really build something cohesive and build some harmonious structure, or what they call actual family? Because family is one of the final juggernauts or daggers to really destroy any actual civilization. With black people, it took a lengthy process to get us here where we are right now. It didn't just started during putting in these ships. to send you off to the new world to be an indentured servant. It goes beyond that. It takes constant effort of reinforced behaviors, punishment, capital punishment, and fear. And with this, you create, and also manipulation of genetics with buck breaking. You create a totally different being that is you know well trained subconsciously. Uh, and you think about the insanity of our people. I find it very interesting that when it comes to other race people, and this is what I don't get in regards to better in education our children, and this is how bad it is. I hear even now from few women, not many, that they feel just by improving their boys to get them up to level, up to par, they are going to go outside of the community and then procreate with other non-black people. Which it can be bad. It is bad, but I look at the bigger picture. Say, why are you even thinking about it? You should be improving the ones that come out your womb, regardless. If you could invest in time, energy to your girls, which most women are not doing that, then obviously, what society you want to see? What community do you want to see as you get older or as you leave here? Or you want to see a prosperous society, or you want to see a society of degenerates? You gotta pick your poison in it, sisters. I think with the brothers say, what society do you want to see? Knowing that you're going to be building regardless. Do you want to be comfortable to see an environment that you actually control to dictate how you want things, or you just want to sit there, whine, and complain? There's no in between at all with decisions that we make as men and women in society, black people especially. So, with the destruction that's upon us, that you are already witnessing the decline birth rate of black people, not only from our own accords, whether we program each other or we actually clean each other, but by outside entities through police violence. Also, people get snatched up. Okay, there are thousands of people, black people missing, boys and girls and adults every year, and people know where they're at. We don't have an idea where they're at, but that's something that people want to daydream about. But like I said, with this destruction that is upon us and will continue, that the only thing you'll see moving forward for the African American man and woman is you might soon see a very heavily decline, much more of a melting, shaping of what we call America in the next 40 years. The future is very slim. I'm not saying a lot of black people will be gone in a couple of decades, but I will see with the projection that we're heading with this destruction, that it doesn't look good. And outside this Western region of America, it doesn't even look good globally right now. So we always question, what is really the future of the black man, black woman? And it's how. Because to sit there and complain about these issues will not solve the problem. The women that's complaining about what men are doing or not doing or who they want to entertain won't save them. The men that's complaining about what the women are not doing or willing to not entertain them will not save them as well. So we have a lot of decisions to make as a collective. But know this, in this 21st century, you will be declining. You already declined already. And you're going to continue to decline because of your ignorance or how you love, and you love it too, to be honest with you. Because when race people really, really hate something, they make the initiative to change and be of that action. But those that, don't hate it, what you normally see, they don't do nothing. One thing they could probably do is sit back and enjoy the show in front of their, high def television or tablet or laptop. But that's all I'll say on this subject. Um, like always, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Twitter at Chaos27. Also, you will find season 1 on all podcasts, which I left on the comment section of this particular live stream. And also, I would say one other thing I will mention this. Since this is not a reading book channel per se, I do read books on certain subjects. One of the next top books you should probably look into, invest not only on yourself but for your babies, is a book by it's titled Black People Invented Everything by Dr. Sojan Kumar Das. He's the founder of Solutionary Institution. I'll probably put a link to this website for you to get that book. And also, you can look into more of the psychology of Black people in regards to self-hatred and self-defeat by author and writer that wrote through a 20-hour lecture by the name Sabatu and Plata. And this is works and just from Dr. Amos Wilson. So check those books out, and that will be all. So till next time, let chaos reign.